What's up, guys? Welcome to Bulls 101. This is Chris Amundsen here with Larro Golden, as always, and special guest Salim Suterwalla from Bulls Gold, or the half of Bulls Gold at least.
Half of gold, yes.
But we are doing this show live. We postponed it. We were supposed to do it on Saturday when I was in Chicago, but I think I was way too tired and it's just too crazy after the game, so we postponed it. But we had another good game on Monday, and then we just finished the Philly game tonight. So wanted to just kind of chat with you guys for a few minutes about what we've seen so far over the last week. So in the last week, we've had the Raptors, the Knicks, the Jazz, the Celtics, and then we had the Philadelphia 76ers tonight. First of all, I think the Raptors are getting some more respect here. I think they're a better team than we thought at the time that we played them. They're now, I think, 5-3 or 6-3. I can't remember. But They just won again tonight, and they've gone on a 5-game winning streak since we beat them. So, first of all, how you guys doing tonight? What did you think of the game? How you guys feeling overall? What's going on?
I'm okay. I mean, I'm not like super mad or anything like that. Like last season, I think I'd been probably madder just because I think we would almost have been like reversed. I think we would have been like in Philly's position where we had the lead, but then gave it up and lost. Last season, that is. So, like, I mean, looking at this game, there's like so many errors that we keep making throughout each game. I feel like they're consistent mistakes. Obviously, we've been able to overcome them in previous games against like Boston, against Detroit. Even against Utah, I feel like we overcame some of the mistakes that we made today. But it's kind of becoming a trend that I think we need to fix for sure. It's going to be a problem all season long. It's like not a recipe for winning. That's something I keep thinking about. Like obviously the offensive issues that they get stagnant. There's a lot of I know we have to rely on DeMar late in the games. He's great at it. He takes really good shots for the most part because he has such great footwork. He's able to get to his spots every time in that mid-range area. But it's kind of going to be difficult to just be like, okay, that's going to be our fourth quarter every game. That can't be the fourth quarter every game. You have to figure out something that I know I've been thinking, and Larro confirmed it with me. Like outside, maybe I'm not noticing it, but like we don't do a lot of off-ball action for Zach for one reason or another. I don't know what's going on with it. And obviously, we know all of Vooch's issues right now with his shooting. I mean, that's his really only problem right now. Is scoring for whatever reason is just not there. I know he has a history of supposedly starting out slow, but this is like a bit more than just starting out slow. I feel like there's just something that isn't right with him, because I was kind of looking at, I'm sorry I'm rambling here a little bit, but I was kind of looking at his last couple of seasons, the first month. He did have like inconsistent games, but there were games even in the beginning of the show where he had like a good game and then a inconsistent one, and then a good game and then inconsistent. Right now he's like, and by good game I mean scoring wise. Right now it's just been consistently struggle, and that's something I don't know what needs to happen. Maybe that's something Billy can do, run some plays early and consistently go to Vooch in his spots. I know that empty side pick and pop is something Larro's constantly pointed out with him and Zach. But yeah, just kind of get him going too early on as much as you can. So maybe when later in the game we don't have these offensive stagnations, because then that's another player we can go to.
Yeah, I guess I'm not as worried right now. Like it's gonna come. Like I'm not really too worried about like Vooch's shot. Like I just feel like he just didn't drop off the face of the earth as like a shooter scorer.
I agree.
And I'm not coming at you, Salim. I hate that it came off that way. I'm just saying, like, I think we all like have to just reel it back for a bit and just remember, like, these guys are still new. They're still trying to figure each other out. Just because they play well in the preseason and we're winning doesn't mean that they fully figured out how to handle things as a cohesive unit in those type of situations at the end of the game. And I think like it's going to take some time. Like it really is. Like in Zach, the Zach situation with the ball, bad decisions and things like that. A part of me feels like again, like the dude is just used to being the man on the team. So like he's used to being the number one guy. I was just telling Salim before the show, like when you like go to the gym and you work on form shooting, right? And you got the perfect form in practice, you're knocking it down in practice, it's perfect. And then when you get in the game and guys are guarding, you go back to what you're used to. You go back to that same wonky form, whatever, right? But it just takes time playing with guys that know how to play the game like DeMar. It takes time to know, like, oh shoot, like I don't have it going right now. Like DDR has it. Like let me get it to DDR and I'll just play my role. Like if they help off me, I'll just be ready to knock it down. Right. But when you're used to being like, hey, give me the ball, like I got to take us home, like that's hard to get out of your system. It really is. Like it takes games. Like I don't want to go too crazy, but I remember Dwayne Wade, right? Dwayne Wade, when the big three happened, like it took a lot for Dwayne to be like, okay, I'm not the guy anymore. Like, and I'm not saying that DeMar is taking that away from Zach. I'm not saying that or anything like that, but I'm just saying like in terms of trying to get I'm the man, I am the only player that can get this job to get the job done on the team. It takes a lot to get that out of your system. And I'd rather that happen now, get those things out now than in mid-season or going into the playoffs. And if this is happening with Zach mid-season going into the playoffs, then we got a problem. Then you gotta, if you're AK, you gotta think about, we'll see. But right now, like 6-2, right? Like a lot of haters before the season. Defense has been just, you can ask better from the defensive side of the ball. Like coming into the season, if you said the defense is going to be better than the offense, more stronger unit, people would have looked at you crazy. Like, bro,
right.
So
looked at you sideways.
Exactly. Like, bro, you're were you smoking something? Like, no. Like, so like, I know in the moment you're like, Zach, why did you, what the, but like, it's just going to take time. It really is going to take time for Zach to really pull back and be like, oh shoot, I just watched DeMar go for however many points in a row. I need to chill and let DDR go to work. And again, like DDR, he that's the other part he has to understand. Like DeMar is not selfish, right? He'll get downhill and hit you if you're open. So like that's the other thing. He's just got to get used to that. And maybe I'm optimistic, maybe I'm glass half full guy, but I just try to like think of it in a, as like a coach, I guess, if you will. But that's just where I'm at right now at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with you, Larro. I think it's always important to keep perspective because we always get I know I do. I get really emotional during the game. I'm like, man, this or that, or like, I'm like, man, I got to stop tweeting sometimes. Like you get caught up in the moment of certain things. But if you told me before the season started that after 8 games in the schedule we'd be 6-2, and we would have been, we would have lost those 2 games by like 6 points, I think it was total. Like I would have been pretty impressed personally. So the fact that we are stacking up wins where we should, we shouldn't expect to beat Philly. I know they're out, a couple guys tonight, but they got a deep bench and they got an MVP candidate in Joel Embiid. There's a lot to be grateful for. There's a lot to look forward to. And for as much as it hasn't worked in some areas, there's been some really positive signs. So first, I also want to talk about DeMar DeRozan first off, because he's been a revelation for this team. I know that we were all pretty high on his fit coming in. We thought, as a half-court creator, guy who can kind of calm you down in the fourth quarter. He's a good isolation scorer. He's unselfish. He doesn't turn the ball over, right? He can kind of work that mid-range game, draw fouls, like all those things. We're seeing it. He's delivering on every single one of those promises and those things. And he's been better than I've ever seen him. I think this has been, even though he's averaging less assists, I think he's been phenomenal offensively. And I think defensively, he's actually been a lot better than I expected. Now he does, as Larry and I pointed out in clips, he occasionally will get beat off the dribble. that kind of stuff. But I think he's been pretty smart as a positional defender and help defender. I think he's been pretty encouraging in a lot of areas in that way. So, I mean, if we had, because a lot of criticism that we got over the offseason was, well, I like the offseason of the Bulls. I just wish they hadn't signed DeMar. Like, if they'd done everything but signed DeMar, I would have liked it more. I don't think our record would be 6-2 right now without DeMar. I think it'd probably be
no, not at all.
What is it? At 8, it would probably be 3-5. I would say.
Yeah, I think 3-5. There's at least 2 games that he won us on his own. At least.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, the Toronto game comes to mind, but even that first Detroit game was really tight.
Yeah.
And obviously, he showed out against the Celtics. He went 15 for 20 against the Celtics. I mean, the Celtics got smoked by DeMar DeRozan. And tonight, he was unstoppable too. I mean, they could not stop him. They could not do anything with DeMar except when Embiid blocked him at the very end, which,
as a foul,
in my opinion, it was a foul, and it wasn't because it was because they hit him. He hit him with the lower body, and it was the trajectory of where Embiid was going versus where DeMar already was. DeMar was at the rim; he had the right to be there, and Embiid pushed him off his spot. Now, it's a close call, but I didn't think there was enough evidence to overturn it. Like, I could have understood if they didn't call it at first, but once you call it, I thought that was a poor overturn. But I think the game was, at that point, I think it was lost. But what have you guys seen from DeMar that has encouraged you so far, or what, do you think he can sustain this type of performance? Because I've been really impressed with what he's done so far. Salim, let me start you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, he's not. I feel like he's not really doing anything that he hasn't done in his entire career. Like, like outside of the 3-point shooting, I mean, I think that'll tailor off as the season goes on. I don't think he's going to be shooting like 40% even on that low of a volume. I think that will.
I love it, though.
I love it. I love it. Maybe the corner 3 will be something that stays in the game, but. Yeah, but like as far as the rest of his game, he's always been kind of like this method player where he knows how to get to his spots. He's a great ball handler. The little things that he does, he's like a great feel on offense for the game. So in that regards, I don't see it really tailoring off. Like a lot of his outside of like the fast break and doing some of these crazy dunks. I mean, I guess I bet you like if this was DeMar 7 years ago, he's putting that down on Embiid's head. I think that dunk that's going on Embiid's head. But I think obviously he's tailored off a little bit in athleticism, unless he's on the fast break, because we've seen some crazy dunks from him on the fast break. But yeah, I think we'll see this consistently. Like obviously, sometimes his shot on some nights won't be there because obviously you don't have great shooting nights every night. But as far as like the things he's doing tactically, like the getting to his spots, the mid-range game, I think that's going to be pretty consistent all season, in my opinion.
Yeah, when Kris asked that question, I just had a smile on my face. Because DeMar has been nothing but just what you want. Like everything that you knew DeMar could bring to this team, he's been that, and maybe even a little bit more. Like, but what I would like to see happen more is I hope there's not many Lonzo fans watching, but I would like to see DeMar on ball more than he is now. Like I think that's where a lot of the I was thinking about it because before we got on the show, we were talking about how we go into these like lulls and we get stagnant offensively, and I kind of feel like that's because we're relying on Lonzo to kind of come off these double drags and try to get into the teeth of the defense and create rotations, and it's just not really doing that. He's kind of just coming off and passing the ball right away, not even getting downhill or anything like that. But I feel like if you were to put DeMar more on ball, and we know what he can do by in terms of getting downhill, like I feel like we're able, if DeMar can get on ball even more, I would like to see that more. But in terms of what he's doing, man, DeMar has been great, man. And you gotta wonder, like you gotta think like DeMar probably feels the same way, like to play with like Vooch and Zach, where like he's not gonna be the guy getting doubled all the time. Like now he can get to his spots a little bit easier than maybe he used to be able to get to him. And I mean, dude is balling, man. He's just absolutely balling. And I gotta say, even on the defensive end, like he hasn't been as bad as I thought he would be.
I think he's better. No, I'm just saying. I think he's better on the help side, like rotating and like kind of even like stunting a little bit, trying to help out when guys are kind of getting into the paint. But yeah, his on ball is what's actually obviously as glaring. It's like cement blocks on his feet.
Yeah, man.
He just gets blown by. But yeah, to your point too about ball handling, not just Lonzo. Like I feel like Caruso's doing too much ball handling too in the fourth quarter. So I don't understand. I would like to obviously DeMar, Vooch, and that like maybe the high post, getting him the ball and maybe can find cutters at the basket, or just kind of going in and out with maybe some like dribble handoffs with Zach and DeMar or something like that. I don't know. And then Zach would be the third guy I would give the ball to, because I still like you see tonight the decision making for Zach is still not there sometimes in the fourth. So I would still make him the third guy as far as handling the ball is concerned.
I agree. One of the things I was thinking about with DeMar with respect to his contract, number one, I think he's absolutely been worth his contract so far this year in these 8 games. But one of the criticisms of the 3-year deal is that this idea that DeMar is going to start declining, and you guys mentioned the athleticism, but other than the athleticism, most of DeMar's game is not really athleticism based. He doesn't really get rushed. He doesn't doesn't rely on, like Zach's first step is so important to his ability to get into the paint and penetrate. DeMar doesn't do that. He has more guile, I guess, rather than agility, if you will. So I don't think he's really going to lose a whole lot of production in that sense. As you mentioned, Salim, other than like the fast break dunks, we're probably going to see less of those when he's 34 rather than when he's 31. But other than that, I mean, I don't see much decline, much expected decline in those areas. I wanted to move on to Vucevic. As you mentioned, Salim, I think he's been a really, really important piece as the hub of the offense. He's been involved in almost everything. And I also think he almost had a triple-double against the Celtics. He's one assist off. So he's been a really good passer so far this season, finding the open guys, having that scoring gravity, even though he's shooting like trash from the field right now in general. And I think defensively, he is held up very well within the scheme where the perimeter guys are giving him opportunities to get in the right spots, and if not so much contest really well, he's getting his hands in the passing lanes. He's getting his hands when trying to swipe at guys as they're going up, and he's generating some decent steals. So, Larro, I want to ask you first about what you've seen from Vooch that you've liked so far. I mean, I feel like the things that we don't like are just the shooting, but are you worried about that? But what are some positive things you've seen from Vooch so far in these first 8 games?
Positives. I love the fact of on offense, you can depend on him at the top of the key and use him as a hub, like you said, connector into the other side of the floor. And I think some of the things that are underutilized are like maybe having him at the top of the key and running some chin action and making everybody else cutters and letting him find cutters. I would love to see that. But I think he's been great there. Defensively, I gotta be honest, man. Like, you can't ask for much more from him. I don't think. Like, I think he's exhausting the tank of like the defensive effort that he can give. I thought tonight he did his best he could on Joel. Throughout the whole season, I feel like with this, scheme that Billy's been running, he's switching it up. He'll be in drop situations sometime. He'll be hedging. He'll be at the free throw line drop, like just showing different schemes and different styles of defense they've been running. He's been really good with his hands in passing lanes, getting some deflections. Dude is like, like you said, man, like outside of like his shooting, scoring overall, like Vooch has been there, man. Like tonight, if you can get 10 points out of Vooch, if you can get 10 points out of Vooch, you get that dub. But that's what, in terms of positives, that's where I'm at.
I think I agree with everything you guys saying as far as positives are concerned. Defensively, it's funny. Like I know there's like a bunch of people that will fight with you saying he's just trash on defense, and he's like he's not been good at all on either end of the court. And I wouldn't like. I guess I'll say this: like with those people, like okay, he's not technically a good defender overall, but he's good. Like you said, Larro, in the system that we have, like he does what he's supposed to do. And I think a lot of people don't get that. Like a lot of times they'll see, Vooch's guy got an easy dunk. And it's like, well, there's a reason for that because someone is supposed to help in the backside rotating over because Vooch was rotating up to stop the ball handler. So that stuff like that, it kind of gets like, people don't understand that's what's supposed to happen. So then they say, oh, well, that's Vooch's fault. So like, he, like I said, defensively, he's sound. He's not elite. He's not, going to block your shot. And, I think one of our mutual followers, we have Chip Jones, he wrote a really great article on Tap Sportsnet. And he used the words rim deterrent, and that's what Vooch is. He's a rim deterrent, not a rim protector, a rim deterrent. So yeah, I think he's been fine there. And like the shooting, it's just something I'm concerned about. Like I just don't want him to like lose confidence. Like today I felt like he lost a little confidence and like he wasn't very aggressive with his shot. So he needs to shoot. Like, and if he shoots, I felt like he would, like against the Jazz, I was adamant. It's like, yeah, he needs to take those shots because when he took them late in the games, he hit some big shots. And I felt like today, if he consistently was aggressive on offensive end, he would have made Embiid try to guard him. Because if you look at some of those clips, Embiid was just kind of ignoring Vooch when, especially on the empty side pick and roll or pick and pop that they ran with Zach in the end. Embiid didn't even pay attention to Vooch, like at all. So like to me, and to that. If he's just a little more like a consistency stays aggressive, even if his shot is not falling, I think that I would rather see than I'll live with him missing a shot, but I'd rather him not get scared to shoot.
Yeah, and you made this point when we were together at the Jazz game on Saturday, Salim, because I was like, can we just not have Vooch shoot anymore? Because he was like 0 for a billion at that point in like the fourth quarter, and you're like, no, he's got to keep shooting because otherwise, well, number one, as you mentioned with Embiid, you lose that gravity if you're not shooting. If they don't see you as a threat, if they don't think you're gonna get that shot up, they're not gonna guard you. They're gonna ignore you. They're gonna Ben Simmons you. So, you have to have more shots than 7 attempts tonight.
Yes.
You got to get more than that.
Wow.
And I felt like there was some overpassing.
Yeah.
I think there was some overpassing at times where they would pass up shots. I think Vooch was guilty of that too.
Wow, man. I think they bought into the whole, using each other and ball movement, player movement. But I think, like you guys said, man, dude's got to have more than 7. Vooch is a part of the big 3. He needs more than 7 shots.
More than 7.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another Mark Caranzolis from Bulls HQ's here harassing us online. Which I think is a crime in Australia, but I'm not sure if we have jurisdiction. But he's right that I think your defensive scheme sometimes is not always apparent to the average fan that's just watching the game. And a great example of this is Stacey King, who continues to misunderstand what defense looks like in 2021, unfortunately. And tonight he had a clip where they were playing drop and once again blamed Vooch for not being higher up in the drop scheme, even though that's not the scheme. And there's actually our friend Jake Rosen had a really great clip tonight on Twitter. I think it's at Jake in the Paint.
Yep.
He had a really great clip on Twitter about how teams are running, pick and roll with a guy like, for example, they used an example from the Celtics game where they would run a Chicago action where they'd run a pin down and have Tatum set the screen for the ball handler. I think it was Jaylen Brown, and then Jaylen Brown would come off a screen at the top of the key with Robert Williams, and Robert Williams would dive to the basket. And now normally what the Bulls are doing in that scheme is having Lonzo Ball on the strong side there, who's guarding Tatum, kind of help, drop into the paint a little bit to kind of help on that drive with Vooch so that you avoid the lob, and that he's that weak side low man, if you will. But because of the shooting gravity of Tatum on that wing, he's not able to get in there as much, and so it ended up with a lob to Robert Williams. And a lot of people who just watching that are like, man, Vooch didn't get back fast enough. He just got, a lob dunk over. That's his fault. That's not his fault. That's what the scheme is giving you. So it's when you're looking at defense, what I always tell people is when you're looking at defense, don't blame the player first. Number one, figure out what is the scheme that they're running. What is the scheme that they're running? Because the scheme is going to be designed to give up certain things and to prevent certain things. And so number two, once you figure out the scheme, is the scheme being executed effectively? Are they actually doing what they're supposed to be doing within the scheme? Right? And if they're doing that, if they're running the right scheme and they're executing the scheme correctly, and the guy gets a bucket, which is a bucket designed to be given up by that scheme, then it's nobody's fault. Right. And the only thing you could argue at that point is, well, should you change the scheme, right, to fit that? Maybe that personnel, right? Maybe it's Chris Paul, and you don't want to give him that mid-range pull-up. So maybe it's makes sense to change your scheme. But I think too many people just place the blame on it's almost always the center, like it's the lion's share of the blame. But that's something that always bothers me, and I wish people who literally work for the Bulls and it's their job to know what they're talking about would just think about it for a minute before they just blame people on the broadcast. Yep. But it's not just Stacey, and I love Stacey and he's a great entertainer, but it's not just Stacey. It's most people, I feel like, kind of have that opinion about center. But Vooch, I think, has been really effective within the scheme, to be honest. So
yeah, exactly.
Other than the shot attempts not going up and not going in, I don't really have a lot of complaints about him. I actually wanted to bring up the bench. I wanted to talk about the bench, and specifically Tony Bradley and Derek Jones Jr., and Alex Caruso, and Ayo Dosunmu, right? That four-man unit with either Zach or DeMar has been absolute fire, I feel like, the last few games. So what have you guys thought of the bench and the contributions they're making?
So for me, I think you can't ask for more from the group that you're getting. I think you can't ask a rookie in Ayo to do more than what he's been doing. I mean, the dude has been playing stellar defense. He's providing energy. He had a big time 3-ball tonight and as well against the Celtics. So, I mean, you can't ask for more from him. Javonte, he's been doing I'm sorry, not Javonte, but Caruso. He's been, solid. I feel like they've been overextending him a bit in terms of offensive responsibility and running different, pick and rolls and double drags and things like that. But I think the team is missing a little bit more scoring off the bench there. Yep. And hopefully when Coby comes back, that's the secret sauce that bench needs. But overall, man, like the bench has, I mean, gosh, man, like DJJ, ever since he's been put into the lineup, like maybe Billy was like, man, let me give you a shot. You've been sitting on the bench kind of deal. Let me see if you can give us a shot in the arm kind of with energy. He has been really darn good. Tonight he has some big blocks, played some great defense.
Some big rebounds too.
Yeah.
That huge rebound over Embiid.
Right.
Yes.
Huge rebound.
The athleticism eye-popping with him. It's just
that dude's
crazy.
got go gadget arms, man.
Yeah.
Like, that guy he's long. He's crazy good.
But Yeah,
there's
that's all I'll say. Because I don't want to take everybody away from Salim. You know, I want him to.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, I
Salim,
agree with you.
yeah,
No,
and maybe you can help address this question in your answer as well. Is from Skokes. He says if we're seriously struggling with the same matchup issues and in the paint, do you think AK makes a move within the next 10 to 12 games because that lack of scoring and because now that Pat's out, we're kind of lacking a little bit of size. So what's your assessment of the bench and what do you think AK needs to do going forward, if anything, on it?
So, I mean, size would be the only concern with the bench. Like, outside of Tony Bradley, obviously you have him at the backup 5, but we don't really have a big 4 that we can throw out there. And obviously, unfortunately, Pat getting injured hurts that size factor. So that's the only thing I could see a trade for. It's kind of tough to say in 10 to 12 games because that's still pretty early in the season. I mean, I understand, like, you want to make a good deal, but I wouldn't jump the gun because you don't want to get desperate and make a move that you might like not say regret, but it just might seem too soon. Like if there's something there, like if there's someone available that we didn't think of and we could get, certainly do it. I know there's been names thrown out like Bagley and stuff like that, but I don't know if like Bagley's necessarily. I like him. He has talent, but I don't know if he's necessarily like gonna come in and be like, "We've solved it." I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think so. But.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Bagley's not. He doesn't excite me. Like, oh yeah, let's go get that guy. I don't know. That's my opinion on that regards. But scoring wise, yeah, Coby's coming back. Like he's gonna be back at some point this month. Yeah, he's gonna take maybe like a little bit to get going because obviously you got to get his conditioning right. But as an off-ball scorer, like as a shooter, I think he'll be fine in that regards, and he'll be able to fit in pretty well seamlessly. I feel like in that second unit, especially when he's playing with DeMar. There's times where I feel like DeMar needs a release valve, and Coby will be that guy. So
yep.
Yeah, I would say I wouldn't want to make a move that quick. I mean, unless there's something that just becomes available that just makes perfect sense. I mean, you never know. But right now, I don't really see that perfect move. And I don't know if I would want to force a trade just for the sake of trade. I mean, closer to the trade deadline, maybe we can try to see something that makes sense. But, I mean, I wouldn't want to jump into a trade just yet.
Okay. Now I wanted to ask you guys about this because Tony Bradley's emergence as a rim protector, and I've been really impressed with his footwork and foot speed, even on the perimeter, switching out onto the perimeter. I've been impressed at his agility, being able to keep up with guys. And so for that reason, I think the center position I'm a little bit less worried about than I was a week ago because of how well Tony has done in that thing. He had an amazing save out of bounds tonight well, and he had a good block. I mean, he's been really solid in his minutes. But I feel like where there's a Pat-sized hole in our roster right now. We kind of need that 6'8", 6'9" forward type guy. And I was joking around with somebody earlier today, and I said, who would fit really, really well in this roster?
Stanley Johnson.
No, well, besides that, I think a guy who can play the 4 or the 5, can step out and shoot threes, be a passing hub. Wendell Carter Jr.
Oh, Wendell Carter Jr. Okay.
he's shooting 38% on threes right now on 3.3 attempts a game. My man is balling in Orlando.
Yes.
He's playing the 4 right now. He's guarding guys, but I'm just messing around. But we do need. I do feel like that Stanley Johnson archetype. That's why I wanted him, is because he's a big forward who can guard guys like LeBron or Kawhi Leonard. I mean, Kawhi Leonard's not here, but or Giannis, Jason Tatum. And right now, I mean, it's basically like Lonzo Ball is taking on that assignment, and I love Lonzo, and I think he's doing a great job. But that's not really ideally what you want going forward. So there's like guys like Harrison Barnes come to mind as someone who kind of fits that mold as like a switchable forward guy. But I don't know who's really available right now. I'm not sure there is anyone, but that's something I'd be looking forward to, testing that market closer to the deadline. And I guess we'll see where Pat's at with his injury. recovery, but I imagine he's not going to be around until at least close to the playoffs, if at all, this season. So,
right.
But let me ask you, Larro, about Tony Bradley. Yeah, go for it.
I just want another thing I wanted to mention about. Another thing I wanted to mention about the bench. I feel like we have a couple of guys. Obviously, Javonte now is in the starting lineup, but a couple of guys that play above their bigger than their height, bigger than their size. Like you look at Derrick Jones Jr. when he's skying over guys like Embiid to grab that rebound. He's like what 6'4", and he's he's jumping over like a 7-footer to grab that rebound. Javonte is another guy. It's shocking that he's only 6'3", 6'4". Io too, to me, he plays bigger than he is. I feel like he could be like a wing, and he's again like a 6'3", guard, right? Essentially,
yeah.
But yeah, so it's nice to see that seeing those guys out there as far as the size factor. Guys, even though they're kind of overmatched in physical size, their athleticism, their aggressiveness, and things like that really kind of make up for that.
Yeah, and it's held up okay so far, but you can definitely see that there's some compensation going on, right?
Oh yeah.
Skokes mentions, Alizé Johnson minutes. What's nice about Alizé and Troy Brown Jr. have kind of gone out of the rotation the last few games, but I will say I'm not too worried about it. When I looked at the 3 minutes that Troy Brown Jr. played last week, I think it was against the Jazz. I went back and looked at those minutes. He did fine. He wasn't playing poorly. I think Billy just probably wanted to get another look in there, and obviously Derrick Jones is taking advantage of the opportunity. And same with Alizé Johnson and Tony Bradley. I don't think Alizé was doing poorly, but Tony does, provide more size, more rim protection, and I like having those guys in your back pocket to be able to use in the right situations, because I think they are rotation quality players in the NBA. I think they can be useful players for us. But having a lot of those kind of switchable wing-sized guys, having a bunch of those could be useful, because almost every team needs those guys. And if we may be able to use one or more of them in a trade if need be at the deadline. But Larro, I just want to give you a little platform here to talk about Ayo Dosunmu, because I think he has not gotten a lot of love. And I know you told me on an earlier podcast this year you wanted to kind of riff on Ayo a little bit, but you held back. So I want you to let it loose and tell me what you really think about how Ayo's done so far.
So before the season, well, first let me say this: when second round, when Sharif fell, when Jared Butler fell, I thought that those guys were a good fit for the team at the point guard position. But when we drafted Ayo, I thought to myself, yeah, he's not Sharif in terms of playmaking. He can't. You can't just throw the ball in Ayo's hands and just run pick and roll after pick and roll and let him just dissect a defense. But Ayo is someone that he's a. I hate using this word, but I shouldn't say I hate using it, but I think it's overused. But I think Ayo's a dog. I think when you see Ayo out there, the guy is going to play ball, man. Whatever you need, he's going to try to give it to you. If you need a big time 3 ball, he's going to try to knock that down and shoot it with no conscience. He's going to let it fly. I think when we talked about it on the show, his on ball defense, getting over screens, his +5 wingspan, he's a dude that you could just throw out there. And one of the things that, especially once I figured out what type of defense Billy wanted to run and how he wanted to play, get your hands on, in deflections, get out, let's run, let's transition, let's push the pace. That's Ayo. That's what he likes to play. That's what, he's been playing since he was in high school, Morgan Park days, Mac Irvin Fire days. They press you, they steal balls, and they get out into the transition, and that's something I just felt like he was going to fall right in line with, because he's just used to it. That's the game that he grew up playing, and you can see it. He gets out on the floor. He's not afraid. He's not afraid to guard whoever he needs to guard. If he needs to guard the ball, he'll do it. right? And I just think that he's going to get better. He's out there contributing, and he's not a finished product whatsoever. Like, he still needs to work on his change of speeds. Adding a hesitation into his game, or a hang dribble into his game. Something to where he can get a defender's foot flat on the ground, and he can take advantage of his speed and his burst to get by him and go finish. He's shooting, right? It's been beautiful to see him knock down these big time shots, but like to become a consistent 3-point shooter, that's what he needs to work on. And I mean, I can't talk enough about Ayo, man. Like, I really think that dude is really solidified. I won't go that far yet, because I think Billy will at some point try to give TBJ a shot again to be in the rotation. If Ayo goes on a little, a stint of having some bad games or something like that. But I really believe this kid is in terms of like role player, guy that can come off the bench and add energy. He's not afraid of the moment. He's not afraid to play defense. He doesn't care about doing the dirty work. He just wants to win. I've felt this way about Ayo. But it's like one of those things where like you can easily get caught up in groupthink. You can easily like hear a couple people that you respect about their thoughts and be like, yeah, maybe I'm wrong. I just won't say anything. So I've learned a lesson, and I will stick to my guns. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Everybody has misses. So that's where I'm at with Ayo.
You got to shoot your shot, Larro. You got to get those reps up, even if you miss.
Yeah.
I know. I can confidently say now that I was wrong. I thought he was going to be in the G League this season. I don't think he's going to get any G League minutes. I think he's going to be on the main roster, and I've been saying now for a couple of weeks now, like I completely like in 180 as far as I think Billy. It's going to be hard for Billy not to give him minutes, and I would say I wouldn't say like TBJ has been bad. I agree with Kris; he's not been bad, but like it's going to be interesting when Coby comes back, because I do think Iowa has played better than TBJ, and the things that we need from him. Obviously, the shooting is going to be interesting, because not like TBJ has been consistent. I don't believe. I feel like. I don't think he's really shooting that well either. That corner three is going to be important for Iowa, I think, as the season goes on. If he can at least keep defenses honest and spread the floor, that'll be helpful. But yeah, like as far as overall impact, I think Iowa's been better. So in that regards, I do think that when Coby comes back, it's going to be very interesting to see what Billy does, because I feel like it is going to be hard for him to play him. And I had a nickname for Iowa already. No, I don't know what Stacy's been calling him. I know they say the man, the kid has no fear. So the man no fear is Daredevil. That's my nerd. That's my nerd take on on the nickname for Io. Daredevil. There you go. That's so
nice.
So
yeah. I think when Larro and I had talked before the season started, I think what we had said was, or at least my expectation was, I thought Ayo could get some early season minutes with Coby out. Like he would kind of soak up some of those minutes. And at the time, I did not think Javonte Green was going to be in the rotation. Obviously, Javonte Green has taken a sizable role. And so when Coby comes back, it'll be interesting to see whether, whose minutes he cuts into, because he's going to need to get, 18 to 24 minutes a game if he's healthy and if he's playing well. He's going to be really important to that bench. So we'll see what happens. It may eat a little bit of Caruso's minutes or Lonzo's minutes or something like that, but we'll see how it goes. Or maybe Javonte, right? Maybe it eats into Javonte's minutes. I did want to ask one more question about that is, do you think Javonte Green should still be starting, or do you think someone like Derek Jones Jr. May make more sense, or Caruso may make more sense in the starting lineup? I mean, that 5-man unit of the starters plus Caruso minus Javonte, they have the best net rating in the league of 5-man units that played over 40 minutes, according to Rob Schaefer. So at least that was before tonight. What do you guys think? Who should start, or should we just keep it the way it is?
Yeah, that's a good point that you bring up, with that 5-man unit being our best, 5-man unit in general being so strong. When you look at, I tweeted out earlier our defensive rating, our net ratings per quarter, and our first quarter is definitely our worst quarter. That's the only quarter where we're in the negative. I mean, we're only in the negative by 1, but it's still, we start out slow. So, I mean, it could make sense. If that's our best lineup, that gets us the most juice. It makes sense to start the game strong and not just with, like, once Coby comes back, obviously. Not yet, maybe. But I do think that there's some thought there. I think I think that that makes sense as far as starting out with that 5-man unit, so you kind of get strong and, like, you mean like moving the bar to the 4. It makes sense. I do think that makes sense.
Yeah. Here's it. Larro's got the tweet pulled up. We're -1 in the -1 differential in the first quarter, plus 3.9 in the second, plus 10.5 in the third, and plus 14.6 in the fourth. That's the trend you want to be going into. I think last year it was the opposite.
I think we started out bad, and then we ended bad. I think it was something.
Yeah, we started out like it was like -10 or 11 or something, and then it was like second quarter, third quarter was like really good, and then the fourth quarter was like bomb, back to bad. But yeah, that's why Billy ended up switching that starting lineup last year mid-season, was because he wanted to get out to better starts, because he felt like we were kind of stuck in the mud for the first quarter and put ourselves behind, right? He said tonight in his post-game comments, it's a tough life to live to come from behind.
Yeah.
And, you don't want to make 20-point comebacks a habit. I mean, as cool as it is to come back from 20 points down, it's 2 games in a row now that we've been in that position. And not every team's going to melt down like the Celtics did. I mean, we ended up tying Philly with like 5 or 6 minutes to go, and they gutted it out. They're a veteran, proven playoff team that has a lot of good guys in it. So, we got to get off to better starts, I think. Juice Man, I think the timeline is mid-November is what we've heard for Coby's return. So I'm guessing the next 2 weeks or so we'll hear something. They were showing video of him at shoot-around before the game, putting up shots before the game. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully that shoulder's looking good.
I wanted to say as well, like, I think coaching wise, I think you want to strike a balance of empowering your team to make decisions on their own, but also I think you need to have a little bit of say so in what goes on the floor as well. And I feel like, and I may be totally off base, but I feel like a lot of what is going on the offensive end is Billy just kind of letting them, they do what they do in practice, but he likes to let them flow into what they want to flow into. But I kind of want him to be a little bit more assertive in terms of who he wants to get shots to and who he wants to get going, because I kind of feel like I said, I kind of feel like he just allows them to do their own thing on offense, unless, like, you'll see him in the game, he'll call out snap, he'll call out angle, he'll call out flip and different things like that. But other than that, I just kind of feel like he just lets Lonzo and Zach and DeMar just do what they want to do. Yeah. And I kind of feel like you want to be able to strike a balance, and I may be totally off base. He may be saying before the game, like, we're always gonna do this. When we see this coverage, we're gonna do this. So who knows? But I just wish, like, I wish I could be at the practices to hear how they go about things, because, and again, offensively, like, I'm still worried about the half court offense. I'm still worried about it, because when you have like Zach, DeMar, and Vooch, and then you have guys like Lonzo, and you could put whoever you want on the other side, but when you have those guys, you have your advantage creator, you have your creator, your primary creator, you have your off-ball, shot making guard in Zach, and you have a hub. Like, you should be doing different things. You should be running different actions. You should be showing defenses the same thing. Like, if you just spam the empty side pick and roll, if you just put Lonzo in a double drag situation, like, again, and maybe he's just saying, like, we got to find ways to get other guys going. So let's let Lonzo and Caruso and those guys, try to get a rhythm. but I feel like it's not really doing much. Like Lonzo is not, again, he's not a guy you want to have the ball coming off a double drag and trying to do work in the paint. Like you just don't. Like he's just not going to get there consistently enough. He's not going to warrant like rotations consistently enough because they'd rather have him show his in between game than show help because they know that's how he'll hurt you. They know that, okay, if I come off my man, Lonzo's going to hurt me. But if we allow Lonzo to come off and shoot that one-legged, fall away or that pull-up, shot that he likes to take, we'd rather live with that because he won't kill us doing that, but he can kill us passing the ball. So I'd rather see DeMar or inverted pick and roll, like do something different. And I hope that it's just early in the season and Billy just wants them to get used to playing with each other, like in general. And then once they figure it out, but who knows, man, I just wish there was more. Like you look at like Philly, what they're doing, the things they were doing with Seth off ball, like right. They were causing hell for some of these guys, guarding Seth. And you can do those things with Zach. Like he's not Steph. He's not like some of the, Reggie Miller in his prime or anything like that. But like Zach's gravity, his what you can't allow him to be open. You can't just say, leave him. No, guys have to be with him. And if you just use him a little bit more off ball, you'll create gaps. You'll create spacing. You'll create different open looks, different spots. And I just don't think they do that enough, man. And that's what frustrates me during games. But yeah, man, I just hope that it's just early in the season and it'll get better.
Yeah, MG Blazer says, maybe he's trying to see if stuff is going to come organically. Billy has always kind of been that way in the way he approaches offense. He, with Russell Westbrook, obviously, he kind of lets them. It gives them the keys in some sense.
Yeah.
There's obviously a spectrum of coaching perspectives and styles on how they want to run their offense and defense. I think Billy's a lot more rigid on the defensive end. Obviously, he has a reputation for being a very competent defensive coach. And on offense, he kind of lets guys riff a little bit. He lets them freestyle a little bit more. And, it's something that we're supposed to be patient with. I know we said before the season started, the offense is going to take time to gel. These guys they don't know each other as well as they will in 6 months, and that's going to change their efficiency. So I think the offense will hopefully just organically get better over the season as the course of the season goes through, just because time and repetition is going to help them get familiar with each other and find out where they want to find the other guy in their spots or whatever. So we'll see, but I agree with you. I do think having a little bit more scripted plays for Zach on the off-ball actions, I think is going to be really important to getting him going, especially since, the first few games, it seems like he's almost had to like warm up during the first 2 quarters before he really kind of gets going. And I don't know if that's by design or if he's just kind of chilling and letting DeMar and Vooch and other people take the scoring load, or if he's just cold, so a lot of coaches will get centers going early. They'll try and like script some plays for a center early to get them some shots, get them some, some touches. I almost wonder if we need to do that for Zach and get him running off some screens or something, for some off-ball action to get him going early. Because once Zach gets hot, he's really freaking hard to stop. I mean, basically, Matisse Thybulle is the only player I've seen in the NBA slow down Zach significantly. And Thybulle is amazing, right? He might be the best perimeter defender in the NBA. And he shuts Zach up. Every time he plays him, Zach has his work cut out for him to get around Thybulle. But they got to do a better job in general, I think, of getting Zach in the offense early and in those off-ball actions.
I think I don't want to interrupt there, but MG Blazer had asked earlier if we think Zach's thumb is affecting his 3-point shooting, and I think it is. I think when we've all obviously shot the basketball, so like we know, like obviously our strong hand is doing most of the work, but our offhand is kind of giving us some kind of like direction on how we're shooting. So I think when he doesn't really have that confidence and it's kind of bothering him, I do think it is in a way affecting his shooting, especially when he's kind of doing like a lot of shots that he would take last season off the dribble. I don't think he probably has the same because he can't use that hand as much when he's kind of coming up, right? So he's probably using his main hand to mostly come up to take the shot. So I think stuff like that comes into play too. That's why I think a lot of if I can, maybe I'm remembering, but in the Jazz game, I feel like a lot of stuff that he came back, he did a lot in the painted area. I know he hit 1-3, but like a lot of his stuff work that he did, he was attacking the basket and kind of getting in that area to
he was getting downhill. I think you're right, Salim. I think even if you're not using that hand to shoot necessarily the basketball, it does help you with balance and consistency in that shot, and even gathering that shot. Obviously your other hand is really important, and we've seen his handle. Zach's never been a low turnover guy. He's always had a fairly high level of turnovers, and so it's certainly not going to help him. I see a lot of people on Twitter saying, "Oh, we should rest Zach. We should do this with Zach." This is really, I don't see how that's going to help us. Like especially in November when we've got these games coming up. I mean, if it's just a matter of it taking longer to heal, I think I'd rather have Zach on the floor than not. I mean, if we're talking like take 2 weeks off or take a week off of games to try and help it heal, I don't think that's worth it. And Zach obviously doesn't feel like it's worth sitting out because he's playing. And the medical staff seem to agree with him, so we'll see. But
today, Jason, I was watching a little bit of the post game show. Jason Goff said that it would be an issue all season, so that kind of surprised me. I don't know if he heard something that we don't know, because to what we know, it's supposed to be a small tear, and essentially what I saw it compared to is like if you had a sprained ankle.
Right. It should be like a few weeks, right? And if you're playing on it, it'll take a week or two longer, 3 weeks longer.
Yeah. So that was kind of the whole season. I was like, does he know something that we don't, or like?
And maybe he does. Maybe he has some sort of reporting.
That kind of concern. Like all season, that's not good because it better not take all season.
Right. If it's going to be all season, if he plays on it, and it's going to be 2 weeks to heal if he doesn't, then obviously you take the 2 weeks off.
But that's still kind of a crazy. I don't know. I guess that's some kind of crazy variance. That's a crazy variance. Like if he doesn't play, it's only 2 weeks. But if he does play,
that's what I'm saying. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's that sounds wrong to me unless Jason's got some sort of reporting that we haven't heard yet. But
right.
We're about close to the hour mark. I know we wanted to, not take too long tonight. We're just kind of doing a little bit of a quick reaction, but I wanted to see if you guys had any other thoughts on the game that you've seen or the general outlook of the team or any concerns you've got going forward. So, Larro, I want to start with you real quick.
I wish we had kept Stanley Johnson, man. But because Matt Thomas is just chilling over there. He's got front row seats. But no, man, honestly, like I said at the top of the show, is like I'm very happy in terms of where they're at, record wise, how they've been getting the wins, even though they're not fully where they're going to be yet. They're still learning each other. They're still trying to figure out certain things about each other's games. And once again, I don't think Vooch just all of a sudden became this bad of an offensive player. Like, I just don't. I don't. I do believe that that's going to come back around at some point. That's about where I'm at, man. I'm kind of like right there. Just 6-2 is cool, man. Let's try to get some more wins.
Yeah, I know I was beginning of the show. I didn't mean to come off as a negative person. I wasn't trying to be too critical. I was just some thoughts that I had that are minor concerns that I think they can definitely fix as the season goes on. Something that positive, like I really like, obviously the defense we talked about. Another thing I noticed with their defense, obviously we currently aren't shooting as a team. The Bulls aren't shooting a lot of threes, but they're generally been really good at running players off of the 3-point line, the opposing team. And I was curious about like, what our hustle stats were as in general. And I was just doing like digging through the numbers, and I noticed like, we don't contest a lot of 3-point shots. That's weird. Like, that's kind of surprising to me. And then I looked at like the opposing team, like, oh, the opposing team is not generally shooting a lot of threes. We're at an average, I think opposing teams are like in the bottom 3 of 3-point attempts against us. And I was looking at each opponent. I was like, wow, yeah, each opponent compared to the season average. And again, not to bring up my Twitter again, but I tweeted earlier today showing like every game we
pimp your Twitter, man, pimp it.
Yeah, every tweet game that we've had, we've basically held the opponent to less 3-point attempts than their season average. So we're doing a good job of defending overall at all levels. I think maybe except for the paint, I think there's teams are getting in on us or scoring a little bit on us, but I think that's by design more so. Like that.
Yeah, I mean that matches
area.
That matches the eye test and what we've seen from their scheme. That's what they're designed to do.
Yeah, in that mid-range area, I think we're giving up more points in that, so forth. But like, I think that's by design. But yeah, that's our defense has just been like even better than any of us, because we were all thinking they're going to be above average. At least they're going to be about an above average defense, but they've been just so good that it's surprised even us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be as critical as possible here while trying to be as nice as possible. Anyone with a functioning brain could tell that they weren't going to be a bottom 5 defense. Like anyone who actually knows the personnel on this team and knows Billy Donovan knew that that wasn't going to happen. I mean, you just, especially with the offensive talent that they have, there's just no way that they're going to be that bad. And I think all of us were kind of in agreement that middling and to maybe a little bit slightly above average was kind of like our conservative estimate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They've outperformed even what I expected so far. And Kris and Lonzo have been all defensive team level defenders. Like they've been really, really amazing. And obviously Javonte Green and Derek Jones and even Tony Bradley and Ayo Dosunmu have all been really quality defenders. And I think Zach and Vooch and DeMar have fit well within that system and have performed pretty admirably up to this point. I did want to make a final point before we leave. And it's just to say thank you to you two guys. I got to visit Chicago for the first time. I got to spend time with you guys, see you in person. It felt like I'd already known you for years. It didn't feel like it was the first time I met you, but you guys made my experience so amazing in Chicago. Beautiful, beautiful city. So much fun to go to the UC and hang out with you guys. So I just want to say thank you so much for making my experience just so wonderful, and I can't wait to do it again. And as you guys know, you're welcome to come out to my neck of the woods anytime you want, if you want, to hang out on the beach and get a little bit different vibe than Chicago offers. But man, I was just blown away by the city, how everything was just spectacular. So thank you guys so much for that.
I'll say that I wish that Jeff Bezos didn't have me working my tail off, and I could have spent more time with you, man, because I felt like it wasn't enough. But dude, all thanks to Salim, dude. I mean, for people that's listening, like this guy is the one, Salim is the one that got me and Kris to like say, hey, bro, like you want to do a podcast? Like, you know what I mean? Like Salim was the guy,
Yeah.
And it's full circle, man. Like it was really cool to like hang out with both of you. And like I said, I just wish it could have been more. But Amazon got me doing work out here, man.
According to Mark Cuban, you can, if you want to become a crypto bro instead, you can quit your day job.
A crypto bro, please don't become a crypto bro. please do not do that.
I'm just kidding, but Salim, man, shout out to you, brother. I'm so grateful for you.
No, I appreciate you guys, man. I just want to be a good friend. That's all I care about. I mean, I'm so happy that I have met you guys. Like I feel like you guys are genuinely my good friends now. Not to become sappy and have like a full house moment here, but like no. for real. I'm happy that I've met you guys, and I always say like when you get older, it's harder to make friends, right? When you get to like our age, like over 30 or so, whatever, it's harder and harder to make friends. And you guys have become really two of my really good friends, and because of this beautiful game of basketball, essentially.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Basketball,
why
man, has brought us all together.
Bringing people together.
Who knew this trash organization that's been trashed for the last 20 years could bring the three of us?
We're the diamonds. We're the diamonds out of the
this coal that's been pressurized for so long. It's created this diamonds, yeah. But man,
yeah.
there's a lot more season to look forward to, obviously, and I've been really impressed with the first 8 games, and it's been stressful. I was telling you guys earlier, I am a ball of stress during games sometimes, and maybe I should wait till the games are over and just watch film afterwards. Maybe that'll help my blood pressure. But it's nice to have expectations again, because last year I was like, they're going to lose every game. But now every game that they go into, I'm like, they can win this game. That's what I think. Yeah. And we haven't had a team like that in a whole long time. So,
and even during the game when you think they're going to lose, they come back and at least either win
they don't give up.
Like today, you would thought the game like this is going to be a loss, and all of a sudden they tie it. So it's like they're going to be a team that you just can't count out all year, and it's going to be fun.
Just when I think I'm out, they drag me back in. That's the meme. So,
man, this is crazy, man. DeMar DeRozan, man, if you're listening at some point, brother.
Like, we were happy to have you. Like we were happy that the Bulls signed you, and now we're even like ecstatic the Bulls have you.
Hey,
you've been
DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan All NBA campaign is on right now.
Man,
that man is he's in top 10 MVP voting right now. Him and Zach are both. They're like 6 and 7.
Let me tell you, it's gonna be. It's funny. Like if you asked before the season again that started, how many All-Stars the Bulls would have? I mean, I think like I had said 1, but most of the people that said 2, they said Zach and Vooch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, it's gonna be probably Zach and DeMar at this point.
He's probably gonna be those two guys.
Yeah.
If DeMar if DeMar is averaging 35 a game, he's gonna be in the All-Star.
Right. And that's the crazy part.
On great efficiency too.
Bulls fans were optimistic about the defense and optimistic about DeMar, and both of those things have exceeded expectations, even on our optimism. So it's crazy
stop
to
listening.
Think about that.
Stop listening to ESPN. Stop listening to national analysts. Don't listen to Tim Bontemps. I respect John Hollinger a lot, but those guys have to cover all 30 teams. It's just too much for them to do. They're going to be wrong on stuff. So always check your knowledge against the people that are actually like living and breathing with the team. And I know like there's some homerism involved, and we're all biased towards the Bulls in some ways, and we're maybe in a sense where we're more conditioned to be optimistic about our chances versus pessimistic, right? Yeah. And more likely to be pessimistic about other teams' chances. But you got to look at the facts. You got to look at what the predictions are based upon. You got to look at what is it based upon? Is it based on homerism? Is it based on outdated ideas, or is it based on film and analytics and study, close study? And I've been really impressed. I'm grateful that we've been right so far, because I felt like we had good reasons to be optimistic, and they've come to fruition. But there's it's only 10% of the way through the season. We got a long ways to go, guys. But
before we go, is it? I may be wrong. Maybe my math is off. But you guys know me. I'm not a math guy. But if the Bulls were to go for like 500 the rest of the way, they would still be over 40 plus wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yes, they would.
Hey, so you know what?
I'll tell you.
Let's do it.
Let me do the math for you. Let's see.
There would be, I want to say,
43 wins. They'd be 43 and 39 if they went 500 the rest of the season.
And I can't.
You think they can do 500 the rest of the season?
I think they could do more than 500.
I think
they can flirt with 50. I think they can flirt with 50.
I think so. Yeah, like I said, I think even my win total of 46 games is probably selling them short. They might get to 50. We'll see.
Hey.
We'll see. It's a long season. We'll see. Like a lot of these teams, excuse me, a lot of these teams that have started out a certain way, I also will pick it up too. So it's
yeah.
I'm just saying, 31 wins to go. This is the best 37 win team of all time.
Hey, let's go. I love it.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us on Bulls 101. Appreciate you guys in the comments as always. Appreciate your comments. Appreciate your support. Check us out. You can find us anywhere you get podcasts. Just look up Barroom Network. We're one of many shows on the Barroom Network, along with Salim Suterwalla's show, Bulls Gold, and Science Fliction, which is a new show I know you're doing. So check out Salim's work. Follow him on Twitter at Salim, SALIM_BG Hoops. And you can follow me at KLA Hoops and Larro Golden at _Larro Hoops. And give a shout out to the Barroom Network for hosting us. They're wonderful. Aldo's a great guy and giving us this opportunity. And we'll be back again on Saturday, hopefully with some more great guests and more great games. We got another game on Saturday. I know Larro and I are probably going to dig into a little bit more film and break down stuff for Saturday. So I'm looking forward to it. Salim, thank you so much, man. Great friend, great person. You guys definitely follow him on Twitter. And we will see you guys soon. Peace.
Peace.
Let's go.